The Roof Runner, a Punch Girl short story by J.M. Riley. Chapter 1. The apartment towers surrounding Lesko Park intimidate. In daylight, they reveal their crumbling concrete skins and graffiti makeup, battle scars earned through time, neglect, and abuse. Their blank, glassless window eyes watch the hustlers and the hoppers conduct business on the gray-packed dirt playground at their feet. The once proud structures now loom over the surrendered ground below, like bullies over a fallen victim. At night, somehow, it's worse. The buildings rise darker than the night sky, and they conceal their malice. The evening lights from the surrounding neighborhoods and the city beyond shine brighter in contrast, because light and hope enter Lesko Park to die. For this reason, Punch Girl is here. Crouched at the corner of the East Tower, Punch Girl blends with the environment, and far from unnerved, she welcomes the park's hostility. In daylight, her sky blue would mix with the wide blue yonder, creating camouflage, but the blackness of night serves a similar purpose. It embraces her, and she allows the darkness to warm her, stealing its power, draining it, and storing it for herself. Should the park or the surrounding apartments attempt to constrain her, they would discover themselves weakened and opposed by a wrath that would dispatch them as easily as it would shed a worn coat. Punch Girl would welcome the fight, but she's not looking for it. She is fallible, and she is mortal, and the darkness hides secrets she cannot see. The zombie moans and shuffling feet of the unfortunate citizens beneath her second her rudimentary analysis. But she didn't come here for them. She came for herself. This is Punch Girl's meditation, and a practice no one else understands. Others prefer warm light, fragrant aromas, and the soft gongs of a sound bath. Punch Girl can imagine no greater punishment than sitting still amid a community of soul seekers, breathing the odors of lavender and vanilla while a post-teen van life expert buzzes Sanskrit nonsense at her brain. The total destruction of the studio might calm her, but it's best to stay away altogether. It's how she is. It's who she is. The dark, the solitude, and the bubbling secret speak to her, and the city bristles with secrets. At least Lesko Park announces itself as a bully. The sparkling skyscrapers of downtown hide behind shiny metal and glass, shielding themselves with charitable giving while they coerce on an industrial scale. The lie extends even to downtown's tallest building, American Marketing and Management, topped by its dome and spire, standing above the rest like a stalwart leader. Of course, they added the dome and spire later, making it the tallest. Not that Punch Girl can cast stones. She wears a skin that conceals her from top to bottom. The punch suit masks any identifying features, including gender, and among the few city dwellers who acknowledge her existence and the even fewer who talk about her, Punch Girl is a mystery. For all they know, she could be Punch Man. Punch Girl adjusts her crouch, the suit's fabric giving a soft creak. Add the punch suit to the list of items irritating her tonight. It's heavy, cumbersome. The new components drag, making her feel slow, even if the opposite is true. The enhancements magnify her capabilities, making her stronger, faster, and more dangerous. That's important because she never fights one-on-one. Attackers come in groups, and their numbers embolden them. The spell breaks with the sounds of snapping bones, tearing cartilage, and the accompanying shrieks. And Punch Girl's job is to get to that point as fast as possible. Force her opponents to become individuals afraid for their safety, then rejoin in group flight. The longer the fight lasts, the lower her chances of escaping. It's pure math, and Punch Girl is a far better student than the bad guys. From the compartment in her low back, Punch Girl removes a tablet, and the screen blooms to life. With a few taps, the tablet screen switches scanning modes from night vision to infrared to electrical wire frame and back. Punch Girl's blue glove swipes, swapping the scanners for the audio on the police band. After a few moments of soft dispatch chatter, Central speaks in Punch Girl's ear. "You're not worried anyone will hear you? New suit, new equipment, recorded heads-up display, and now always-on communication. Add it to the pile. You don't have to watch me. I disagree. It's literally my job. Just because you can doesn't mean you have to. I want to. Punch Girl and friends. Punch Girl and associates. Punch Girl and no one else ever is more like it. She never liked group projects, and she always worked better alone. The city changes, though, evolves, and someday it will react to her presence. She needs Overwatch, but she makes a note to dial back Central's communication boundaries. If it makes you feel better, the HUD is going straight to the recorder, and I noticed that you switched on the tablet, but I was listening, not watching. Silence. Hence the question. No, I'm not worried anyone will hear me. If they do, they are welcome to come tell me to shut up. I would advise them against that. Punch Girl exhales, and through her voice modulator, the breath emerges as a growl. Did you want something else? How does the suit feel? Heavy, like armor. That's appropriate. Your muscles will acclimatize. It's not much added weight. Still, all someone has to do is push me into the river, and that's it. Straight to the bottom. I'll make sure no one knows that. Have you tried any of the new tools apart from the tablet? The grapple is better than the old one. I used it to get up here, and the boosters on the boots cut the time and effort in less than half. Punch Girl unholsters her pistol and turns it in her hand, admiring its facets in the city glow. She pulls the slide, releasing the blue bolt inside, catching it with her opposite hand. She presses on the bolt's side, and snick, 4 prongs spring free. With another press, snick, the prongs retract. She reloads and reholsters the pistol. Not long ago, she dreamed of equipment like this. This is better, but Punch Girl wears change like wet wool. Too bad everything changes all the time. Would you like to try it out? Central says. You are watching me. I'm not, and I can tell you why, if you like. This is such a fun game. Go ahead. Because I'm watching something else. A break-in in progress. Multiple targets, and an excellent chance to get used to your new equipment. Punch Girl stands staring across the city. Where? I was just on the police scanner. The police don't have it. Neither does the alarm company. I scraped this from social media. Someone is filming the break-in? A citizen passing by. And they didn't report it, of course. How do you know there's an alarm? There must be. It's an office building belonging to a tech company. If they were robbed with no alarm, their competitors would laugh them out of business. What are the thieves stealing? You want to find out? Chapter 2. In one move, Punch Girl grabs her pistol and leaps from the building toward the ocean of shifting darkness below. She rotates in midair, firing the gas-powered pistol at the roofline, and a satisfying metal chunk slows her plummet as the bolt buries itself in the structure's concrete face. Her boots fire a short thrust burst to control her descent, but the propulsion twists her body, slamming her into the side of the building with a grunt. She releases the grapple cable and vaults downward from balcony to ledge, working toward the rear of the building where the punch cycle awaits. Astride the motorcycle, Punch Girl pauses and says, "We need to move the boosters from the boots to the body of the suit." Embracing change, are we? Central says. Ambient city sounds and nearby moaning shuffles answer for Punch Girl. I'll make a note of it, Central says. Where am I headed? The punch cycle already has the coordinates. Punch Girl glances down at the punch cycle's display screen. 4 minutes. Really? 3, if you don't mind the bad guys hearing me coming. No, I'll take 4. The punch cycle's powerful motor roars to life, reverberating in the sleepy neighborhood, and booms into the distance in seconds. 3 minutes and 38 seconds later, Punch Girl watches a single flashlight beam splash across a top-floor window inside Techivol, a high-value business-to-business designer and manufacturer of precision electronic components. They're still in there. I'm going to the roof. To mask her approach, Punch Girl climbs with caution, avoiding windows and using more muscle than tech. As she ascends, Central says, "There are at least 4 intruders in the video." "Which way did they enter?" "From the street opposite you. They may have a vehicle waiting there." "They won't get that far." Punch Girl pauses at a narrow iron balcony and taps her head near her temple. Her display switches to night vision mode, and the world transforms into various shades of green and black. She leans toward the nearest window and counts 3 men seated in front of computer screens, their black tactical gear contrasting with the industrial tech office surroundings. She withdraws and resumes her climb. They're accessing the computers. Inventory lists, maybe? Maybe. Tech-Evol. Why them? What's their specialty? Server components, specialized data drives, encryption. Whoa! Punch Girl pauses her climb, leaning into the top corner of a window panel and spotting 3 more men wearing identical tactical gear to their teammates below. "I thought you said there were 4. "I said at least 4 intruders." A single eyewitness video is all they have. The witness could have started videoing late or left the scene early. It's unreliable data. "Well, now there's at least 6. They spent money on matching outfits, too." "Weapons?" "I'd bet on it. They disabled the alarm, broke in as a group, unseen, and they're in no hurry. They're thoughtful and capable, and whatever they're searching for is on Tech-Evol's computers, not in a wall safe." Punch Girl leans away from the window, out of view, and says, "Does Tech-Evol have any government contracts?" "It would be public knowledge. They would advertise it on their website. Stand by." Punch Girl crests the roof's edge and steps onto the rubberized asphalt surface, thankful to avoid the noise of gravel or metal. She pauses, and after a few moments, Central returns. "Do you know anything about quantum encryption processors?" "Do you?" "I know what's here on Tech-Evol's website. It's physical rather than mathematical encryption used for sending data and communications over secure channels. To intercept and decode it means to change the encryption's physical properties, making even an attempt detectable." "So it's military? Or spy stuff?" "Likely, but this theft could be common corporate espionage. Big governments pay billions for this type of developing technology, and spending a few thousand to steal it would yield a massive return on the investment. It explains the intruder's low profile and methodical search. By the time they walk out, they may have completed the entire job, from transfer to sale." "They're unarmed," Punch Girl says. "You can't be sure of that. It's best not to assume." "It's not an assumption. They're transferring the data. When they leave, they will be empty-handed with empty pockets. If the police arrive, they can charge these guys with what? Trespassing? If they're armed, it's a different story." "What if they collect the data on drives?" "Would you do that?" Hesitation speaks in place of Central's voice. "I wouldn't. I would do what they're doing." "To what end?" "I'm gonna ask them." Punch Girl crosses the roof on soft feet as the punch suit's improvements drag on her muscles in unexpected places. She never felt clumsier than she does right now. 6 men, unarmed, split between floors. It's a mixed bag, but the good outweighs the bad, and the job is the job. All or nothing. Half measures get people hurt, or worse. The roof-style ducts and vents poking through suggest no attic or internal gap, and on the flat surface's far end, a row of skylight domes reward Punch Girl's hope. She moves with light steps to a smooth glass rise and peeks inside. Corner office dark and empty. Punch Girl pops the skylight's latch and drops in. As she moves toward the closed office door, questions sprout like garden weeds. Who understands this technology well enough to steal it? Who could utilize it once they do? Are these intruders soldiers or something else? Foreign agents? Has she stepped into something far larger than a common nighttime theft? Is there a support force outside? If so, they will be armed. Punch Girl eases the office door open and peers through the crack. 3 broad backs face her, silhouetted by the light of computer monitors. She guides the door on silent hinges and slips through, walking low toward the nearest man. She slows, marking the chair casters, wastebaskets, and other obstacles hiding in the dim light, waiting to spoil her approach. Her route bypasses these difficulties, but the primary problem remains: the numbers. She must disable the men one at a time to avoid alerting the others. The nearest man's form swells as Punch Girl approaches. His covered head and thick neck and shoulders block the glowing monitor as she closes the distance. Light keyboard tapping and the creaks of the office chair beneath the man's shifting weight commingle with the ambient room sounds and the breathing of the city outside. Punch Girl removes a grape-sized sphere from a row along her left forearm. Time activated, the grape will release toxic gas, forcing the man to flee. Punch Girl won't allow that. Instead, she will hold the man in his chair, restraining his struggle and muffling his voice until the vomit comes. The punch suit's built-in respirators will protect her, and at the last moment, she will release her captive and allow his body to do what it needs to do. While he gasps and retches, unable to speak, Punch Girl will recede into darkness to await the other two men as they respond to their teammates' distress. With those two, she can get loud, and the floor belongs to her. The grape's soft hiss shouldn't alert the man in front of her, but if it does, she'll deal with that then. Punch Girl rotates the grape between her fingertips and crouches, pulling her arm back like a bowler, but she hesitates. She saw something. Punch Girl rises to a half crouch, focused on the man's neck. Between the collar of his black shirt and the bottom of his balaclava head cover, a slice of skin appears, highlighted by the computer monitor's glow. On the skin, the partial design of a familiar tattoo freezes Punch Girl and curdles all her previous questions. These are no foreign agents, they aren't spies, and this is no corporate espionage. This changes everything. Punch Girl knows who these men are. Chapter 3. The tattoo marks the man as one of Angelo's. Angelo the Deuce. Professional menace, crafty, calculated, connected, and most problematic, local. No one in Angelo's crew could comprehend quantum encryption, much less deploy it. Angelo focuses on the traditional pastimes of organized criminals: weapons, drugs, gambling, graft. He can run a scam into 8 figures, no problem, but anyone interested in cutting-edge technology would never outsource to him. His men couldn't handle it, and he would smile and wait for the first opportunity to stick his new partners in the back. This is something else. Fighting 6 opponents with full information is complicated enough, but now Punch Girl knows less than she did before, and while she wasn't looking, the bad guys grew teeth and multiplied. Angelo and his men run in packs, and they are always armed. Time to regroup and reassess. Punch Girl inches into a pivot, but her lingering sets off the man's internal alarms, and he swivels in his chair. Time stops as the two look at each other. Punch Girl will scold herself later for letting it happen, but she won't commit the sin of acting late again. She flexes her right wrist 2 times, down up, and fires an open-handed blow to the man's chest. On impact, a rubber-covered titanium plate leaves Punch Girl's palm and pistons into the man's breastbone. A crunch and a whoosh of breath accompany the man's body as it collapses around Punch Girl's arm, and she leaps forward. She spins the man in his chair, grabs the back of his head, and bounces his face off the desk. She adds 2 more bounces, driving the head harder each time and sensing the man's shoulders sag. If she didn't knock him out, his mask should be so full of blood and mucus that he has more immediate concerns than her. So much for the quiet approach. Radios crackle, and by the time Punch Girl finds the other 2 men, they have already crossed half the floor toward her. She sprints for the corner office door, intending to bait her pursuers into the smaller area, where she can subdue and question them, but the men disappoint her. A few steps past their fallen teammate, they halt. They reverse, help their partner to his feet, and with a glance over their shoulders, escort him in the opposite direction. An attack provokes a response. These men are disengaging. Punch Girl says, "They're following orders. There's a leader here." "If they're retreating, they must have a vehicle," Central says. "I'm on it." Seconds later, Punch Girl bursts from the roof hatch and runs for the building's edge, where an unwelcome surprise skids her to a halt. Below her, on a narrow iron balcony, a man in a black tactical outfit and balaclava mask points a weapon at her. The chunky, unusual pistol pulls Punch Girl's focus until the man speaks. "You don't know what game you're playing." "Right back at you." The man chuckles. "I mean, you started too soon. You're in it, but you don't understand it yet." "Educate me." "That's the plan." The standoff stretches for several seconds until Punch Girl leaps without warning. She lands on the iron below, boots clanging, stressing the bolts attaching the structure to the building, which surprises her. The man should have cushioned her fall, but the man is gone. Below Punch Girl, the man bounds from railing to balcony like a parkour expert and lands on the sidewalk bordering the quiet street. His masked face tilts upward, and a white smile splits his black head cover. He waits, inviting her to follow, and his words repeat in Punch Girl's head. "You don't know what game you're playing." "Right back at you." Punch Girl hops over the balcony rail with thoughts of broken teeth and pleas for mercy fueling her. Her boot thrusters fire at each landing, and she bounces down the building's face like a character in a video game. The farther she falls, the wider the man smiles, and when Punch Girl reaches the final balcony, he raises his odd weapon and squeezes the trigger. Halfway over the last iron railing, the punch suit's burden returns threefold. Punch Girl is too heavy. "Something's wrong." Central's voice stutters. "Say electroference." Punch Girl lands on her feet, but her momentum carries her to the ground, where her chest smacks the pavement with an inelegant oof. By the time she lifts her head, car doors slam across the street, and a vehicle drives from the intersection's far corner away from her. She stands and dusts herself off. The suit protected her fall. Less than it should have, but still. What the hell was that? After 20 seconds of silence, Punch Girl connects the simple dots. The man's weapon deactivated the punch suit, cut her off from Central, and implanted future surprises, no doubt. She crosses the street to the spot vacated by the getaway vehicle and imagines the warmth of the car and the crowded bodies inside still present. The man's confident grin is going to haunt her. Her hands already ache to grab him by the throat and turn that frown upside down. Punch Girl's tablet chimes, piercing the quiet night. She removes it from the pocket on her lower back and reads the message. "There's a second break-in. Cryptics Labs, 6 blocks away. Same MO. I'm rebooting, so you'll have to find it on your own." Not a problem. Punch Girl's empty hands may find something to grab after all. Chapter 4. 75 seconds later, Punch Girl leans the punch cycle into a squealing turn and accelerates onto the building-lined avenue. Next stop, Cryptics Labs. The sneaky approach failed last time, so this time she's rolling loud, kicking the door in, and starting the party on her terms. She'll see who misunderstands whose game. Over the engine's high-pitched strain, Central says, "Ah, there we are. I had to reboot here and refresh the connection with the punch suit. What happened?" "That's the question of the day. Angelo's guys have a ray gun." "That seems unlikely." Punch Girl explains the surveillance and the brief chase, ending with her face down on the pavement. "There's no way Angelo the Deuce has developed this kind of technology." Central says, "Even if he had, he wouldn't hand it over to someone who could lose it." "He definitely didn't do that." Punch Girl describes the gunman's acrobatic descent from the roof to the street and says, "This wasn't one of Angelo's people." "Then what? A team effort?" "Angelo is as much of a team guy as the scorpion is to the frog in the fable. He'll sting because he won't be able to stop himself. If Angelo is working with advanced technologies and agile, confident operators, he outsourced them. They work for him, not with him, and he reports to no one but himself. What troubles Punch Girl is the effectiveness of the new team and their weapons. They work as if they were made for her. So, a team effort? Maybe. The squat brick building housing Cryptics Labs rises a few blocks away, and Punch Girl pushes her motorcycle to the limit. In her ear, Central says, The intruders tripped a silent alarm, so the police will respond soon. I'll be quick. What's the connection between this and Techival? Unknown, but the break-ins are too coincidental to ignore. Cryptics is less sophisticated. They make various data-gathering components, sonar, radar, seismic, atmospheric, that theoretically could be used with quantum processors to create a surveillance system. Crack, 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 crack. Rifle fire erupts from the Cryptics Labs building, and heavy thuds smack the pavement around the speeding punch cycle. Crack, 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 crack. The slugs pound the road, sending impact vibrations through Punch Girl's boots. She swerves, but the bullets follow. She releases the accelerator, aims the bike at the building, and streaking forward with bullets cracking around her like her own personal fireworks show, she lays the punch cycle down. The speeding motorcycle spins like a plate, rifle shots sparking off it, and Punch Girl kicks free, steering her tumbling momentum toward the building and the shooters, hoping to reduce their firing angle. The punch suit can protect her from many things, but repeated rifle shots are not on that list. She bounces and topples along the pavement, which helps, but it trades one danger for another. If she cannot control her slide, and the next impact breaks an arm, a leg, or a neck, she is helpless and useless. One tumble propels her into the next, and she focuses on orientation. The night complicates that, but her body tells her which dark patch is the sky and which is the concrete. As the road strips her momentum, Punch Girl spreads her arms, grabbing at the whipping pavement, and she cycles her legs like a cartoon character going over a cliff. Her arms level her, and her furious legs steer her toward Cryptic's brick face. At the curb, her heels strike, launching her head over feet and slamming her to an abrupt halt at the base of the building. She rolls and flicks her eyes to the roof edge, but the shooters disappoint, exercising caution instead of following her and exposing their heads and shoulders. After a quick personal inventory, Punch Girl says, "That sucked." She fires a bolt from her pistol over the lip of the roof, and the attached cable retracts, pulling her upward. "What don't we know?" "How long do you have?" Central says. "We approach this as a routine burglary." "Yeah, well, it's exceptional now." Hold that thought. At the roof's edge, Punch Girl releases the cable and vaults to the surface, already moving forward. Anyone not wearing a punch suit and called Punch Girl is an enemy, and 3 gunmen turn to her, matching that description. They wear the same black tactical gear as the earlier group of thieves, and in case any doubt lingered about their intentions, their rising rifles speak for them. Punch Girl rolls, placing the nearest gunman between her and the other 2, and she rises through him. Her legs piston her upward, and her uncoiling body releases an uppercut that connects beneath the man's chin. Punch Girl's momentum and the punch suit's inertial enhancers combine to deliver a blow that clacks the gunman's teeth together and rocks his head back like it was detachable. A sharp gasp escapes the man before he falls, dazed. If this were a boxing match, Punch Girl could retreat to her corner to await the 10 count in victory. But this ain't no boxing match, so Punch Girl stomps a heel into the fallen man's hand, and the rewarding crackle of multiple bones and tendons separating from each other joins the man's agonized screech to take the 10 count's place. It's difficult to manage a rifle with one hand. Punch Girl rolls again, using air conditioning compressors and concrete lamppost footings for cover, until she orients her opponents in a line, reducing 2 to 1. She tosses a grate between herself and her attackers, and smoke fills the space, obscuring her. She pulls her pistol, fires at an overhead lamppost support, and swings into the smoke. In a perfect world, her momentum would carry her boots into the first gunman, toppling him into the next, and she would dispatch both and head inside. Nothing is ever perfect, though, and halfway through the smoke, her pistol fails. The cable retractor shuts off, so instead of swinging high and dropping like an anvil on her new friends, she swings low, glides out the far side of the mist, dangling and face to face with 2 rifle barrels. The men open fire as Punch Girl's low arc carries her backward into the smoke. With bullets whizzing around her, she climbs hand over hand up the thin cable, wrapping it around her gloves with each step gained. The slack allows her to release the pistol, releasing herself, and she climbs higher. Out of the path of gunfire, Punch Girl kicks her legs forward, riding the cable like a rope swing. She kicks backward and forward again, back and forth, widening her swing as her window closes with the dissipating smoke below. At the top of her arc, she releases and falls. She lands on the first gunman, crumpling him, and tumbles to the second. She rises shoulder first, driving into the soft spot beneath the attacker's ribcage, and her body twists into his, pivoting until she clamps his arm beneath hers and faces the other man. Facing the same direction, Punch Girl and the second gunman stand like they are posing for a surreal prom portrait, but prom portraits rarely end with a stomp to the foot, an elbow to a crushed nose, and a rifle butt to the throat of a gagging escort. With the second gunman choking and whimpering, Punch Girl leaps across the distance, lands on the third attacker's unsure feet, and rides his falling weight to the ground. She perches on his chest, squatting as the man labors for breath, and she leans until her chin hovers over his, mask to mask. The punch suit's voice modulator turns Punch Girl's already angry words into the voice of a demon. "Who are you?" The man's face turns away, as if Punch Girl expelled her words on steaming poison vapor. "They just told us to stand here and shoot at you if we saw you. Who are you?" "I'm new. They said it would just be one night, and they would pay—" Punch Girl's fists land, clubbing the man on both sides of his head. They retract and reload. "Mike! My name is Mike. Mike Rushing." "Who do you work for?" "I don't know. My friend Barry said there was a job. That's it. Ask him. I mean, when he wakes up. Is he okay?" "You should worry about yourself, Mike." "What does that mean? What are you going to—" Punch Girl hops off Mike and flips him onto his face. She slips 2 blue zip ties from a pocket on her thigh and secures her captive's wrists and ankles. She stands, leaning away as Mike struggles, and she hesitates. A boot rises and thumps downward on Mike's ankle, twisting it, and Mike responds with a howl. Now she can walk away. Central says, "That last blow seemed unnecessary." "I disagree. He was already incapacitated. His job was to shoot me if he saw me. Pardon me for taking that personally. It's my job to consider the long term, to think strategically." "He wasn't shooting at you. There is no unnecessary." A moment of silence passes, and Central says, "Understood. Good. Thanks to Angelo's ray gun, my grapple failed. Redeem yourself and tell me you know what's going on." "I wish I could." Punch Girl's fingers quiver as she fumes at the night. The men below her, inside the building, expect her. Why? Why her? What are they doing? Why are they working with Angelo the Deuce? Her hands could ask, and with the correct emphasis, the men inside would beg to answer. If she could reach them, if she could trust her equipment. More than the actual damage, which she can repair, the thieves have introduced doubt. It will linger. When a split-second window opens, and she coils to dive through it, that doubt will grab her hand and coo in her ear, "Are you sure?" Central says, "We may have done enough for tonight. In the light of day, clues may surface. The police might—" Kavoom-voom! 2 car engines, one after the other, start on the street. Gravel pops on pavement beneath slow-rolling tires. Punch Girl sprints toward the sound and peers over the roof edge. Below, 2 black SUVs accelerate away from the building, and Punch Girl jumps without thinking. Eyes on the vehicles, her hand finds her pistol, and as gravity grips her, the voice of doubt caresses her brain. "You jumped off a building with malfunctioning equipment. I wish you had asked me first." Punch Girl slams the voice in a closet and kicks the handle off the door. She fires a grapple bolt at a power line across the road, and she recoils at the relief that washes over her when the device performs as expected. The bolt loops over the power line, catching it, and Punch Girl swoops toward the moving SUVs. Above the lead car she falls, crumpling the roof steel. The car shifts with the impact, and the driver leans into the concept, pulling the steering wheel and trying to throw her. Gunfire pops from the trailing vehicle, but the erratic jerking motion of the lead car makes her an impossible target. As the car steadies and speeds ahead, a familiar sight emerges. From the passenger window, the unusual pistol, aka the ray gun, aims and clicks. Over the whipping wind and standing on unsteady ground, Punch Girl recalls Central's advice. "We may have done enough for tonight." Well, almost enough. She steadies herself and pistons a boot heel at the hand, retreating inside the vehicle with the ray gun. The arm sways, but the hand keeps its grip, and Punch Girl dives. She skids, wrapping the arm in hers like a baseball player stealing second base, and her momentum across the vehicle's slick roof carries her over the side. Punch Girl's fall bends the passenger's arm, and with a yelp, his hand opens. Punch Girl drops to the pavement with squealing tires on one side, and the sound of bouncing plastic on the other. She wants to track one while avoiding the other, but physics takes over, and she slides to a stop on her face. The lead SUV's engine roars as it speeds away, and the second car's engine matches for a far different reason. Punch Girl raises her head, and the second vehicle's chrome grille swells in her vision, growing as it rockets toward her. Punch Girl fumbles with a pocket on her chest and times her movement. The roaring SUV leans, steering 6,000 pounds of speeding steel and rubber into her path. At the last second, she rolls, avoiding the front tires and passing beneath the vehicle. Her thumb presses a magnetic disc, but an empty click replaces the expected beep. No light switches on, and as the rear wheels bounce inches from Punch Girl's body, she strips a glove away from the punch suit and jams it into the passing underbelly of the SUV. Within seconds, she lies in the road with a malfunctioning tracker, missing a glove and a plan. She does, however, have a new ray gun. Chapter 5. Central re-established connection with Punch Girl and arranged for the punch cycle's retrieval before the police arrived. After a shower and minor medical attention, Punch Girl swaps punch suits and sits at her high stainless steel drafting table in the warehouse. The unusual pistol rests on the gleaming surface, and its image glows on all three of Punch Girl's computer monitors. What do we know? Nothing yet, Central says from speakers above. I agree, though. It is very specific. How long? Days, if not weeks. You could use the time to heal. I'm not injured. Your wounds would disagree. I'm hurt. I'm not injured. You're also not in top form. I suggest we wait for what? Them to reload? To strike again? To find my glove and re-engineer it to use against me? I'm not trading tech for tech. I was thinking you could rest. That's a great idea. I'll go take a nap. Maybe I'll watch a rom-com and fill up on Milk Duds. You should come. We'll wear matching footy PJs and cry during the wedding scene. A few moments of silence pass. You're saying you can't rest. Punch Girl breathes through her fury. Central didn't cause her failures, but someone has to pay, and she already extracted more than a pound of repentant flesh from herself. She says, each piece of the punch suit has a tracker. The glove went to Soto, of course, and then disappeared. I'm going after it. What about the ray gun? I'm not waiting. That evening, the punch copter drops Punch Girl across the bridge at the edge of Soto, and she proceeds on foot to the final location of her glove's tracking beacon. She moves from shadow to shadow through the literal and figurative darkest parts of Soto, avoiding residents and overhead windows, and nearing her destination she gets a surprise. She stares at her tablet and says, "The signal is back." "You found it?" Central says. "No, hang on." Punch Girl follows the weak beacon on her screen to a boarded and locked subway maintenance access door. She touches the weighty lock and chain, reading the stern warnings about the danger ahead, and says, "We don't have subways anymore, right?" Technically, we never did. A combination of graft and groundwater stalled the project for years. Several administrations passed the responsibility down the line until the river flood drowned several contractors and forced the city to scrap the entire thing and move it above ground. So, anyone using the tunnels would be up to no good. Using the tunnels for what? Let's find out. Punch Girl bypasses the sturdy chain in favor of the flimsy plywood boards and opens the iron door behind the barrier. The dark tunnel invites her deeper, and her glove beacon calls to her with a clearer voice. "I'm going in. I may lose you." "Maybe I'll take a nap." Punch Girl grins at the jab. Central fights as hard as she does. As long as they stay on the same side, that's a good thing. You do that. After a few steps, The tunnel darkness swallows her, and she follows the glow of her tablet and her glove's tracker past electrical boxes fixed along the dingy walls. At the end of the corridor, a long set of concrete stairs guides her downward until her boots find level ground at the head of a long arched hallway with a single overhead bulb at the end. Punch Girl walks forward, her boots disturbing invisible puddles, and the occasional clawed, scurrying animal. She checks over her shoulder as the signal from her glove strengthens, and the harsh illumination from the bare bulb reveals her to the insects, arachnids, and whatever mammals are watching. A closed metal door, stenciled with faded black tunnel coordinates, greets her. The doubt returns, and she pauses, wanting to ask Central for advice. But even if she could reach her partner, the depth and the darkness have removed her from any help but her own. She places a flat hand on the metal and reaches past the barrier with her sonic enhancements. The returning silence means nothing, so she presses on the door, which shifts but doesn't open. The door is unlocked, and the latch freed when Punch Girl turned the handle, but an obstacle blocks it from the other side. She presses again, leaning this time with her shoulder, and the door gives an inch as something heavy surrenders its ground with a weighty, gravelly slide. Through the crack in the door, an unknown light source silhouettes the object blocking her path. Punch Girl leans and pushes again, making as little noise as possible, but envisioning 20 men with guns loading, checking, and aiming, waiting for her. Another push opens a gap wide enough for Punch Girl to slip into the dim light on the other side, on high alert, but she lets her guard down within seconds. No one else is here, but that does nothing to diminish the room's fascination one bit. Punch Girl steps into a massive depot with tunnels and tracks leading away in multiple directions. Dim lights hang from the high arch of concrete that forms the ceiling, and they shine on a platform full of computer terminals. The whirring interconnected tech contrasts with the crumbling concrete and steel. Past the platform, an access road leads into a dark tunnel like a first-year art student's drawing, and a single black SUV sits on the border between the room and the tunnel. The blocked door makes sense now. Whoever uses this tunnel accesses it by car or some other walkway. She entered through an unused passage, and the storage shelf, cluttered with electronic equipment and enormous spools of wire, occupies a convenient position in the space. Punch Girl passes by the mountain of computers on her way to the SUV, following the discarded glove's signal. At the vehicle, she drops to the smooth concrete floor, rolls beneath the rear of the car, and retrieves her equipment. Back on her feet, she walks to the computer. Station? Network? The interconnected machines lead to a central screen processing data in real time. Punch Girl steps onto the platform and watches the code generate, but the numbers and symbols mean nothing to her. Apart from a programmer, the code would mean nothing to anyone reading it, especially Angelo the Deuce, or anyone within his operation. Punch Girl leans over the keyboard stationed in front of the monitor and taps the space bar, a universal interruption keystroke, and the screen rewards her with an image she recognizes. The city. Within the urban area's borders, lines of varying brightness and width circulate among the neighborhoods, and Punch Girl's mind translates the lines as traffic patterns at first, but the conclusion won't stick. Something about the lines is wrong. A few seconds later, Punch Girl spots the problem. About a third of the time, the lines leave the road and pass over buildings or cut a straight line through neighborhoods. This can't be traffic. Why track traffic patterns in secret anyway? Traffic patterns. The thought raises the hair on Punch Girl's arms and neck. The various lines trace paths around the city, and the darker, thicker lines draw Punch Girl's eye. Sodo, downtown, the courthouse, the warehouse. These are her traffic patterns, her movements. Outside Punch Girl's small circle, no one knows the location of the warehouse, but with enough long-term tracking data, they could find it. They could find her. Worse, they could use this data to manipulate her, move her along predictable routes, and create deliberate blind spots in her coverage. Her goosebumps grow goosebumps, and she steps back from the computer platform with the realization that she pulled back the curtain on her own con. The distance from the monitor re-engages her other senses, and the rumbling reaches her ears. The concrete floor beneath her shivers under the pressure of a seismic event as the air pressure rises in the chamber and in Punch Girl's head. Central's description of quantum encryption and its built-in intrusion detection flashes like neon in her head. It's physical, rather than mathematical. To intercept it means to change the encryption's physical properties, making even an attempt detectable. That single spacebar stroke triggered a booby trap. Boosh! A gush of water, like a storm-fed river leaving its banks, blasts into the room from 2 railway tunnels. Water covers Punch Girl's boots in an instant, and the arched concrete walls shudder, cutting the lights. The computer shut off with the power loss, and darkness slams to the floor like a falling car. Sparks shower from overhead, and a second set of quakes vibrates the tunnel depot, leaving Punch Girl with 2 choices: meet the monster or run. A massive chunk of concrete bashes the floor beside Punch Girl, dousing her with a wave, soaking her and exposing her to electrocution. A second boulder lands, and Punch Girl runs. Through the knee-high water, Punch Girl slogs toward the rear door, holding her tablet overhead like a lantern. She reaches the passage, but the rushing water knocked the heavy shelf into it and pins it there with the rising flood. Punch Girl pulls on it, but the shelf's weight and the water's force thwart her. She's stuck. The room shifts, and the now constant pounding of falling concrete adds noise and turbulence, disorienting Punch Girl. She aims her pistol at the ceiling and fires, but the weapon malfunctions, sending the bolt and cable only halfway to its goal before it falls, useless. The water rises to waist height, and half the room collapses on Punch Girl's right, sending a shockwave of water, dust, and debris into the confined space. If all the tunnels collapse, that's it. The room will bury her alive. Punch Girl fights the current, gritting her teeth at the effort. The water is coming from somewhere above, and if she can follow its path upstream, she may find daylight. Boom! The concrete above splits like a glacier, and half the ceiling crashes downward with a payload of earth. In the dark and commotion, Punch Girl cannot find which tunnels are still accessible, and she has no more time to guess. Behind her, the equipment shelf blocks one exit, and in front, the half-buried SUV taunts her with a ride she cannot use. Amid the destruction, an idea freezes Punch Girl in place. She can't drive the SUV, but she can use it, as long as her equipment functions. Punch Girl leans into the strengthening current, straining her thighs with each step, swinging her arms to create momentum, and soon the black SUV's half-buried body stands within reach. The nose has disappeared beneath earth, water, and rubble, leaving the tailgate exposed, and Punch Girl opens the hatch and finds what she is seeking. All cars have child seat anchors built into the bodies, and the safety feature ensures that anything connected to it will stay connected in the event of an accident. Where the frame goes, the anchor goes, or so Punch Girl hopes. She climbs through the back of the vehicle and attaches a grapple bolt to a seat anchor by hand. No room for error there. The return trip across the room takes less time and effort. Moving with the current, Punch Girl unspools the connected cable and, directed by the water flow, sprints across the space until she reaches the heavy shelving unit. With the churning sea at chest height, she will get one shot at this. After that, she begins a water-treading contest which she will lose. She winds her pistol and its connected cable through the shelf supports in several areas and reconnects it to her chest. The activation should tighten the cable, pulling her and the shelf away from the door. If the SUV holds, if the shelf doesn't break. The cable designed for her weight could snap. The pistol could malfunction again, but drowning is a painless death. Punch Girl slaps her chest and the cable jumps and tightens. The mechanism pulls her to the shelf, but it strains trying to retract the unit to the SUV. The cable pings as it tightens, and the shelf groans. Somewhere in the darkness, metal pops against metal, and Punch Girl's existence clings to an uncomfortable mixture of physics and luck. The shelf bends against the surging water, and the cable sings, until a minute shift, invisible, vibrates in Punch Girl's gloves and boots. The shelf moved. It slides again, further this time, and Punch Girl clings to the metal, adding her weight to the shelf's teetering momentum. The shelf moans above the rushing river. The pistol mechanism whines on Punch Girl's chest, and the odor of overheated electricity fills her nose. And the shelf falls, inch by inch, and then all at once. The barrier topples forward, and the cable drags it toward the SUV with Punch Girl pinned underneath. She waits as long as she can, hoping it's long enough, and slaps the pistol, releasing the cable. The shelf lurches forward, creating added space, and Punch Girl leaps at the opening. She dives through the open door, half running and half swimming, and at the stairs she climbs. Her exhausted legs fail her halfway up, forcing her to rest, but the danger swirls behind her now, unless this tunnel collapses. The thought re-energizes Punch Girl, and she climbs to the top, scrambling over the fallen plywood barrier and chain, and re-emerges in Sodo. She takes a moment to catch her breath and says, "I'm back. How was your nap?" Chapter 6. 2 days later, a thread of dawn traces an orange line along the horizon, and Punch Girl watches it from the tower roof overlooking Lesko Park. Soon, the orange will widen and brighten to gold and white, and another night's vigil will end. It never truly ends. Central's analysis of the ray gun revealed a custom-made, commercially unavailable device with no manufacturer's markings. A prototype, which is good, but designed for her. That's bad. Paired with the discovery in the subway tunnels, a pattern forms. The public may ignore Punch Girl, but the bad guys are not. They see her as a threat, and they are evolving, adapting to her, and they are committing money and resources to doing it. That kind of effort deserves her attention, and she will deliver that and more, but there are moments when demand fractures her. Moments when every single thing needs her to face it. Central often reminds her she is not alone, but they both understand the truth. She is. She has her demons, no doubt, and they force her to work alone. They force her to work, period, and she doesn't play well with others. Experience has taught her this setup works best, but in quiet moments the doubt creeps in. She sees herself and the world against her. She can take it, but she is alone. With a rooftop view of the world. The end.